Welcome back, everybody. Today we will be discussing the Yeezy 350 Bred. Specifically, we're going to be discussing exactly where the Yeezy 350 Bred is going to be restocking and when that is. To preface this restock guide, for those of you who did already cop some, feel free to check out my video regarding whether you should sell or hold these as well. If you didn't cop or you just want more, don't worry. As always, Yeezy 350s, especially with 575,000 pairs, will certainly be seeing restocks. If there are any other updates, I will let you guys know, so be sure to subscribe and enable post notifications just so you're always 100% updated on all hyped releases. Also, for any urgent info or updates, be sure to follow my Twitter, KeithAdam10, and personals for you, just so you're always in the loop 24/7. Let me know how you performed on this drop in the comments down below. Now let's kick it off with where the most pairs will be restocking. This has been the case for years, and I expect it to be the case on these Yeezy 350 Breds as well. Foot sites. This includes Foot Locker, Foot Action, Champs, East Bay, Kids Foot Locker for both the large sizes and the small sizes. It is almost a guarantee that these sites will be restocking soon based off of all prior hyped releases, including Yeezys. However, there are two potential ways that they could go about these potential restocks. The most common way is completely random times, normally around 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time and 7 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time within a few days of the drop for the majority of hyped items. This is normally the case, and it's essentially completely random in those time ranges. However, in fact, specifically when it comes to Yeezy 350 drops, I noticed that we sometimes see majority of which in the afternoon rather than the normal times that we see restocks for during the day of the drop as well as the day after the drop, usually around 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern or so. However, there is another possibility. We specifically have not seen this form of a restock since the Royal Toe Jordan 1, though. They normally only do this for very hyped Jordan 1 specifically, and that would just be when they pre-announce the restocks. I personally think that it's very unlikely that they will announce this, as I can't remember the last time that they did for Yeezys. They may have potentially done it on the black 350 V2s long ago, but I'm not even sure about that. I would suggest being ready for the random time restocks when it comes to these, just because of how rare it is that they do announce them nowadays. Regardless of it being random or announced, though, I would suggest following personals for you on Twitter. As soon as we do see that there are solid sizes that do restock, we will tweet out as per usual for you guys. Throughout the next week or so, myself and staff will be watching my monitor as well as bot checkouts very closely. Also, one thing that I must note that you guys need to understand about foot sites, this is actually what I stress in all of my how to cop videos, because I do feel it is very important to understand. Foot sites are not exactly about speed, they're more about persistency. Unlike what you may usually expect on Shopify drops or restocks, for example, the stock is loaded gradually over a span of many minutes, sometimes even up to an hour rather than all at once like you see on the majority of sites. Hence, this could be a little bit confusing and unusual. If you do see out of stock messages or errors, but I do tweet out that they are still checking out, I would still suggest trying if you do have free time, because of course it is still pretty time consuming. But I just want to make it very clear that when we do tweet out that they are checking out, that is real stock, even if it is throwing out error messages. Also, the way we check for these restocks is actually extremely tedious. You see, you actually can't efficiently monitor the API of foot size because they load fake stock 99% of the time. So although we do have a monitor running, most of it is just fake stock. For this reason, we actually watch bot checkouts as well, of which we see a ton of constant pings for bricks and nonsense sometimes. It's certainly not the most fun thing to do, so feel free to leave a like on the video. Moving on, let's discuss Finish Line and JD Sports. Finish Line and JD used to be incredible for restocks, especially when it came to Yeezys. When it came to Jordans, they used to restock at around 10 a.m. Eastern Time following the day of the drop, but when it came to Yeezys, almost always they used to restock at 1, 3, or 4 p.m. Eastern Time on drop days, and sometimes the day after the drop as well. Recently, though, they have been using this new Finish Line reward system for restocks with points, essentially a pay-to-win system, unfortunately. We tweet those out when they do happen too, since it is pretty time sensitive and they do sell out very quickly, but you need Finish Line status points in order to access those restocks. Pretty clever on Finish Line's end. However, this isn't always the case still, even as of recently, so it would be worth checking the links I do tweet on the site list at the mentioned times over the next few days just to be safe. But again, this isn't what they normally do anymore, so I'd suggest being prepared regardless, though, just to be safe, even if they do use the status points like I was mentioning before, we will tweet out for that too. If you do need help finding the direct links to check over the next few days, just head over to Personals for You on Twitter. Definitely worth checking to be safe, and all of the links will be posted there for you. Just careful not to refresh too much within short periods of time because they do IP ban pretty heavily. The sites are very, very sensitive to requests as of recently. Those sites will definitely be your best chance at restocks manually. However, I do also expect some Shopify sites to restock as well, primarily Shop Nice Kicks and Shoe Palace. We should definitely expect to see some pretty decent restocks here, but unless you do have a bot or at least a Shopify monitor, it will sadly be pretty difficult to cop off of here. Regardless though, we'll still try our best on Personals for You to send out the links as soon as possible. As always, it's worth a try and it can't hurt. Now, aside from those online drops for US, you should also expect some foot stores to do some leftovers, especially for large sizes due to the very high stock. This will definitely be your best chance, specifically because obviously you have no competition with bots. This is only in person, but keep in mind that most locations do require you to get tickets in advance, so unless you did prepare for this, you would have to live in a decently quiet location in order to have some success on this. I mentioned this in my How to Cop guide and to prepare you guys, so please, for future reference, please make sure you subscribe and enable post notifications just so you never miss out on these types of opportunities, because that's definitely not what I want to see. Regarding the exact time for these, they normally always do 3 p.m. local time on weekends and 6 p.m. local time if it were hypothetically a weekday drop, just for future reference. Sometimes though, they also do get additional shipments, so those of you who haven't prepared by getting tickets in the morning, you still may have a chance, so it may be worth calling them for a couple of mornings a few days after the drop to see if they have gotten any stock, because some locations do. And before anyone asks, as for Yeezy supply, although they do get a significant amount of stock, they will not restock. They never do, unlike these other sites. Now, for Europe, with the US sites that are going to be restocking out of the way, I definitely expect Foot Locker Europe to restock these multiple times, which will unfortunately be extremely difficult manually due to how terrible their sites are. The next best chance at restocks in Europe will actually ship to the US as well. This is mesh sites. This would actually be Foot Patrol, JD Sports, Size, and also Hip Store. These always restock following the patterns of Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time weekly. Even if, of course, there isn't a hype drop happening, they usually always find some products to restock at Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And I do think it is extremely probable that eventually, within the next week or two, one of which is definitely going to include the Yeezy 350 Bred, certainly with decent stock too. Although they do raffles, they always do restock leftovers at these times. Sometimes JD Sports for the Europe only region, and sometimes Size as well, do random times rather than this pattern, but as for the global sites, it's normally always Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, or one could say Wednesday at 4 a.m. CET for Europe. But anyway, that will conclude it in terms of the ones that will be restocking. So as you guys could see, it's not over yet. I have always loved the saying, it ain't over until the fat ladies sing. There are still plenty of opportunities left. If you can't cop the restock, there will always be more opportunities in the future, so be sure to subscribe and enable post notifications just so you're always 100% updated on those hyped releases. And of course, follow my Twitter, KeithAdam10, and Personals for You just so you're always 100% updated. For those of you who do need reliable, fast residential proxies for these restocks, if you're not going manual, I just have restocked some plans on kit proxies, so feel free to check out the links in the description below. With that though, I'll see you guys later. Good luck on these restocks and any future drops, of course.